All right, here is your top 10, Joe. This is always brought to you by our good friends over at Home Field Apparel. This is Joe DeLeone's top 10 power rating. Read it off, bud.
Number 1, we got Georgia, of course. Number 2, Michigan. Number 3, Ohio State. 4, Washington. 5, Florida State. Oregon at 6. 7, Alabama. 8, Texas. 9, Missouri. And 10, Louisville.
I really don't have one issue with this one, Joe. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, we're pretty much the same here.
Yeah, we're debating semantics here if we're going to go toe-to-toe.
Yeah, we'd be really fighting semantics. I have Georgia. I mean, look, we just got done talking about Ohio State and Michigan. I put Ohio State at 2 this week because I did not like what some of the things I saw with Michigan against Maryland. Now, here's one that I know that you'll love. I put Washington at 4, Florida State at 5, which I'm sure we should talk about a little bit. Alabama at 6, 7, Oregon, 8, Texas, 9, Louisville, and 10, Mizzou. Go ahead.
Just that this is going to be one of those ones I think where we really disagree. I think that the one talking point here is the fact that we both moved Florida State back. And when I posted my graphic earlier, I was kind of expecting some Florida State fans to push back. None of them did. They'll probably push back in the comments on this video. We have to acknowledge here that I think it's not unfair to move them back. Washington won a big game. They've got a number of ranked wins now, and that's a pretty impressive win in my eyes. But separate from that, we have to acknowledge a backup quarterback that we need to see play first before we're willing to commit to him, before we move them back up into that top 4. We just got to be realistic here.
Well, their argument's going to be that Tate Rodemaker had a couple of drops against North Alabama. I don't care. I think that's a little bit of the point, that your offense is off when he's throwing the football. If you're having drops. Now, do I think that can get cleaned up this week? Yeah. But he's going to start this week in the swamp. And I think, Joe, I think this is a game that we got to talk about this week, okay, because of the magnitude that comes with this. Pause. But I do just ask myself, if he goes on the road, okay, and has a good performance, I would feel better. But I need to see more from him. Jordan Travis was the heartbeat of that team. If you don't think that Jordan Travis wasn't the heartbeat of that team, I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
Everybody,
it's okay to be optimistic.
Well, they can talk about stats. They can talk about, he wasn't running as effectively as maybe he did last year. Whatever. He's not. Whatever you want to say about Jordan Travis, cool. It sounds good to me, man. But he's the heartbeat of that team. He is the straw that stirs that drink. And if you think taking the biggest playmaker off of your team for a guy that we have not seen this late into the year, yes, I have questions. I have massive question marks. Now, let me end this now, okay? If they win the next 2 weeks, they deserve, and they are undefeated, they deserve to be in the playoff.
Yeah, because they get an added ranked win if they beat Louisville. Absolutely. They belong in there because realistically, you're going to lose teams in the conversation. And the teams that I'm talking about, either Oregon or Washington, could get bumped out of that convo. Michigan or Ohio State could get bumped out of that convo, and then Alabama could get bumped out of that convo. So they have all the right to be in there.
I got to be real with you.
Texas can also get bumped out of the convo. And frankly, look, we got to be honest with ourselves. Texas is the weakest of the one-loss teams. I think they're the last team that deserves to
You don't think Texas could beat Louisville?
I don't think it's a foregone conclusion.
Well, here's a whole nother thing. And I know that you hate this because you were texting me during the Miami game saying I shouldn't have let you convince me to pick Louisville. And they wound up winning, I might add. And I saw them, have a 3-point game against Florida State the week before. Joe, I know they're at 9. They're going to be 9, 10, whatever it is, okay? But if they win the ACC and they're a one-loss team, you're going to have a conversation.
They would need a little help. They would need some help.
Of course they need help. I think they're on the outside looking in. But the bottom line would remain, okay, let's just say, for example, all right, Oregon beats Washington, right? and you got Oregon, which I'm not going to debate here. Oregon is better, deserves to be in the playoff over Louisville. But the discussion would have to be had if you have 2 one-loss Power 5 champions. Here's another discussion. You can have it with Texas. You could have it if Bama wins out. And you would even have to have a discussion about Georgia if they were to lose to Bama in the SEC championship game.
I think that the one team that can lose and still get in is Georgia. I really do that. I think Georgia's been so impressive. And I also think that.
But you would have to put Georgia over a one-loss. The only team that could happen to would be Louisville. The only team.
What do you mean that?
Because I don't know if they would put in Georgia over Texas. If Texas,
I think that they would. I think that there's been enough evidence test wise their worst loss is not a bad loss because it would beat Alabama.
True. Again, true. But look, next year we're not going to have this situation because everybody's going to get in.
No,
but God. See, this is what makes the playoffs so goddamn good. It makes these next 2 weeks playoff games. There's a playoff game, okay, in Ann Arbor.
And the next week there's a playoff game in the Pac-12 championship game. There's a
playoff
game in the ACC championship game.
There's a playoff game in the SEC.
Yeah.
Okay. There's all. I know you're not. I know you're going to kill me. I know you're going to kill me because Iowa is going to get blown out by whoever they face. But on paper,
I guess that's a playoff game.
I guess. Sure. Right. But, oh, man. This is why, Joe, I keep getting asked would you love do you love the playoff expansion? This is why I say no. This exact reason's why I say no.
I disagree. I think that it makes it more fun because not only do we have playoff games, odd playoff games, because now the future is going to be the next 2 weeks are going to determine the important seeding, and then also teams that are like sitting at 14 and 13 and whatnot are going to need to win these rivalry games to get in, and then we have another round of playoff games.
But to end it here, because I got to roll. But to end it here, okay. It's do or die. It's do or die for everybody.